Wambuzi tari za mumira, you deserve a photo shoot every hour. It's your hour. Camera, lights, flash, click, strike up, pose. Oh, swag, drippy, click, strike up, pose. Hey everybody, whoop whoop, welcome to Her Hour. Yes, and I am your favorite host. Yes, my name is Vera. So good to see you all. I hope you're keeping safe in isolation in the privacy of your homes. And yeah, so I might not have thought my wardrobe out properly for this episode because it's actually gotten a bit colder than I thought. So give me 2 minutes, let me make a quick wardrobe change and I'll be right back. Click, strike up, pose.
5 hours later.
Today, of course, I am joined by my favorite of my favorites of my favorites. Yes,
Is that what you say to everyone?
Michael. Yes. Our lovely co-host. Yes, Jordan, tell people that you are here.
What's good, guys? What's up? What's popping? Thank you for coming on.
Whoop, whoop. Yes, and today we have an absolutely fantastic guest. I've known this person for ages, and I'm actually really happy that I have such cool friends in my life. Yes, people, I know famous people in Zimbabwe, and all the way from the city of kings and queens. Whoop, whoop, Gilmore. Yay! Please introduce yourself to our rangers.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gilmore T. I am the global citizen. I really try to put myself in a box because my work involves a lot of fashion, film, and media. So I work across fashion, film, and media. And I'm also all about creating sustainability within the creative industry. So believing or to grow or to sustain themselves, I'm up for it. But ultimately, my purpose is, in life is I'm a bridge between creatives in different platforms. So I'm a connector. That's my purpose, and that's all I have to say. Oh, I joined creation company, management company, GQ Top Best Dressed Man for 2020, and I work with the MTV Africa brand, amongst many other people.
Wow! Shout out to you.
Thanks. I
Talk about 20 and us getting like.
Let's not give them too much.
Right.
Yeah.
No, they can Google you if they want to know more information. They must Google you. They must follow you on Twitter because you're on all the social medias. We'll put the details, guys. As you know, we always put about guests, so you can find out everything that Gilmore does. Gilmore does fantastic work, the most professional person I've ever worked with.
Thank you.
And just a beautiful soul in it.
Thank you.
So we're just gonna get right into the discussion.
But before the discussion,
yes.
Our drinks are sponsored by Kuva Beverages. I'll let Vera continue with that. You can see her screen on a bigger space. But basically, I follow them on Instagram.
Yes,
Their handles should be on the screen. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So actually, I wanted to ask Gilmore, what are you sipping on today?
Someone give me an idea. But I'm sipping on, to be honest, on tea. I drink herbal tea all the time. But also my herbal tea is to just compensate for those young Zimbabweans that are always sitting by the corners complaining about things not happening in the country and they're not doing anything. So I'm sipping them right now because look at you guys doing the most, and there's some other young people that are just taking ownership. So I'm sipping on their lazy asses.
Oh, I love that. That is so beautiful. That is I'm
living for that.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna just kick off right into it. I wanted to ask Gilmore, what does influence mean to you?
Influence for me means...
What does influence mean?
I think there's like so many definitions for it, and I think a lot of people think that if someone is of influence, they need to have 1,000 numbers, 1,000,000 numbers on their social media platforms, especially in this space that we live in, where most of us are on social media. So we think that with 1,000,000 followers, with 250,000, we're already people of influence. But I think influence is someone who's able to be. It's a person that they think of when they're doing a project, when they're coming up with projects in boardrooms. You are that person that they think of to say, okay, we are doing this project in Zimbabwe. Would Gilmore like that project? Would Jordan like that project? Would Vera like that project? So automatically you become a person of influence. It means that you are the one that is actually on the basis of when decisions are being made, when projects are being thought of. You are the core of it, because they know that if they supply something of that sort, you're going to consume that. So an influence is a person who is a decision maker in boardrooms. They are not in boardrooms. They can be in the boardrooms, but they're the ones that actually determine what goes out into the market. That's influence to me.
Right.
That's
very like
powerful.
business oriented. That was a very business oriented answer.
Yes.
It really shows the sphere that your mind exists in. Like you seem to be a very business oriented person. That's what I got from that.
Thanks. But I mean, it doesn't also take away from those that have a lot of following. The only challenge is that a lot of young people nowadays, they are chasing numbers. So you find that most of the people that are following on social media, they're actually buying those numbers because that they think that having 15,000 people on their platforms, it means that they're people of influence or they're influential. But that's not the situation. You can simply have 1,000 people following on social media, but when you tweet out something, half of those people are going to buy, or they're going to buy into what you're talking about. That's already of influence. So that's the difference. Now, numbers are not of influence. It's, are you the person that they think of when I'm thinking, we want to do a festival in Harare? How would Gilmore come in and do something? The moment that question comes in, say, how does Gilmore come into it? How does Jordan be a part of it? It means that you're a person of influence. You're an authority. So for me, a person of influence means you're an authority.
Right. I love that you brought up the social media thing, because I feel like definitely in this day and age, a lot of people are relying on social media. I love that you said the thing about people buying their followers. One thing that I've noticed is that there are a lot of people who have like maybe 10,000 followers, 15,000 to up to 20,000 followers. And then when you see the content that they're posting, they might have such low engagement, like 100 likes on their posts, 0 engagement, like 5 comments. And you're like, what is the point of having all of these comments if you're not getting the engagement? So for me, I feel like you're saying, influence also has a big part to do with like engagement from the people that you are, you know, pandering to. I hate to say pandering, but the people who you are putting your face out to, people who are consuming your image, consuming your content. And so if you are someone who has maybe 10,000 followers and only 100 people are liking your pictures, you're not that much of an influencer. But you know, the same thing is that if someone has 1,000 followers and 500 of those followers are consuming their content on a regular basis, then that makes them someone who is influential. Rather 500 people from a pool of 1,000 than 100 people from a pool of 16,000.
Exactly.
Right. I completely agree with you.
And I see a lot of that also is trending, especially in Zimbabwe, with personalities and artists. A lot of artists are actually going to buy social media followers on their Instagrams, on their Facebooks, and their Twitter. But then you find that, you know, organic building of an audience, Vera might have 400 people that follow her. But when Vera says, guys, today is Yellow Duke Day, trust me, half of the people are going to be yellow duking because Vera just spoke about that. So it's something that we need to be very careful about, because people feel that with money I can be of influence, but that's not the situation. You are buying your people. It's not organic at all. And it's crazy because young people are falling into that.
Right.
That's so true. Yeah, I completely agree with like both of you, what you said. And literally that's exactly what I think influence is. It's about how are people reacting to what you're saying? Are you the kind of person who can tell, like the example you gave is, if we say, guys, wear a yellow dugu today, how many people are actually going to do it? If it's going to be 2 people, then you're not really like a person of influence, right?
Yeah.
And I think the issue of like buying followers is really a big thing, and it's been happening a lot. And I think a lot of times you'll even find that certain corporates misunderstand that we'll go to a corporate and we'll be like, oh, we have 20,000 followers, 16,000 subscribers, our videos have 2 views. But we won't tell them about the views, but we'll just tell them these crazy numbers. And then you have a corporate that says, okay, we'll give you $100 million, and then we're living our best lives. But people aren't watching our videos, people aren't engaging in our social media content, but we have all of these numbers, but we actually aren't influencing anyone. We're not making any changes. We're not pushing any brands or anything like that. So I think that's really a really important view and thing that people just really need to think about when they say, okay, is someone really a person of influence? Is someone just because they have 15,000 views doesn't mean they have 15,000 people who are actually really engaging in their content. It could be 15,000 people that just watch 5 seconds of the video and like, screw this is boring, next.
I'm done, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right, you just had me thinking about something. So, sorry, real quick, you just had me thinking about something, and the fact that, you know, I think that we live in an age where people are being sold dreams about the way that social media works. I think there are messages being peddled in society by, you know, the media, where they will say, oh no, someone like Kim Kardashian, for example, these are I'm speaking about like the most influential people in the world based on social media numbers. These are people who are being paid millions of dollars for a post because they have so many followers. They have like hundreds of millions of followers. And I think that a lot of people see that and they think, oh, I have to get a lot of followers, but they forget that people like the Kardashians aren't only doing social media. They're also on TV. They're also pushing interviews, pushing radio, pushing it. Like, you know, they have brand deals. They have businesses. They have so many other avenues of influence besides social media. And I think that's the case for a lot of influential people. They aren't only relying on one source of influence or one avenue of influence. They have their fingers and their hands in so many different bags that it's a situation where the influence is not just coming from social media. The influence is a well-rounded thing that is like, it all plays into each other. And I think that's something that people miss out on, especially the younger generation. They think that, no, I just have to have a good social media brand and that's it. But that's not the case. Yeah. Social media doesn't pay the bills, unfortunately. Like,
That's right.
So
I like what you brought the Kardashians because I think.
No, continue.
Sorry, there's a delay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add on to Jordan to say I like what you mentioned about the Kardashians, to say as much as you see them on social media, but they're actually doing real work out there. I mean, as much as people think they don't work, but those girls have like brands, they have clothing brands, they've got makeup, they are doing TV shows, they're on radio.
Right.
So they are literally gathering all these people from different spaces through different ways that are coming on social media to follow them. So through their radio, maybe they get 100 people coming through. Through their clothing, they're getting 200 people coming through. So they have their hands on, and they're getting as many people from all spaces that are coming in to follow them. Hence, the numbers are so high because they are literally everywhere. They're like a bonang of Africa.
Right. And they also have people who aren't even on social media buying their products because it doesn't end at social media, you know? So, Yeah.
So I wanted to ask Gilmore, sorry, do you see yourself as someone of influence? Do you think you're an influential Zimbabwean?
Yes, I am an influential Zimbabwean. I'm an authority, actually. I always call that. Yeah, I am. Why I say that about myself is because, I mean, obviously when someone goes on my social, I'm like on 15K or whatever, on Twitter, on Instagram, and whatever. But there's people that have so many numbers that I know of in Zim. But for me, why I'm saying I'm an authority is because in the situations where you guys see the end product, but most people would not know that I would have been consulted or I'm involved on the grassroots level to making decisions about, for example, the MTV Africa Music Awards. I'm working on them. So I'm the behind the scenes and we determine what happens. The European Film Festival, I'm behind the scenes. We're planning right now what should happen. But when you see an end product, you just see the end product and you see the movies. That basically say, no, let's do this, let's do that. And then at the end of it all, when they're approaching Jordan is like, oh my God, I'm so fly. I'm like, yeah, there's people behind doors, closed doors that are whispering to people on what should be done and how they should be done. So I'm an authority.
Right.
Not bragging, but I'm just putting it out there.
No, this is all bragging rights. You're allowed to say that. Like I think that's another thing. I think that's another thing that comes with like this whole influence thing is like being 100% conscious of like the weight that you carry in every room that you enter, in every space that you occupy. It's important for you to know just how important you are or just how much more growth you have to achieve, you know, because you can become out of touch with yourself, you know, you can become, you know, big-headed, and then you stop doing the work, and then you think that this work all has to come to you. So I think you're very right to be able to say, I am an authority because I have worked for it. I've worked hard. I put myself in this position. So shout out to you and more power to you.
Thank you. We've been working, cool. Guys. We've been working. It's crazy. Can I just add like a funny story? It's crazy that the other time there was this huge, I think there was, I can mention brands here, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So there was the benefit concert, the Africa Day benefit concert that was done last year and hosted by Idris Alba. And it had like all these different personalities from the African continents, like your Trevor Noah, Chloe and Haley, Bonang Mateba, Pel Tusi, Davido, and all those people were on it. And then from Zim, I think there were two of us, Miss Rain and I. And then there's like an online platform again, because they have numbers, so they think when people actually go and make noise, when they put something and people go and make noise, they now think they're influential, which is really not. I mean, that's like a flower. For a flower to be there, you have to put a seed, you have to water, you have to put manure, and then it comes out as a rose and it produces a flower. So the numbers are just the flower, but there's actual things down there. So they went on to say, oh, why is this guy on this platform? Gianni, who's this person? And then someone went to respond, was like, you people, you actually need to educate yourselves, because you go on their socials and you see that this guy doesn't have as much followers as your favorite people. But this is a person that actually has a lot of influence in making sure that brands come into the country and talent from the country go on different platforms outside. This person does that. So I just realized that, you know, we also need to be. Sometimes it's important for you to go and look up someone before you start questioning why is it Jordan is on this platform. Yet you don't even know that Jordan has been cultivating so much that now you see this blossoming tree, but this tree just didn't spontaneously come out from a pot. It was dug in and it was cultivated, it was watered until it became a tree. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Right. I think just to add on to what you're saying, there's this socialite. Well, she's not a socialite. She's an influencer in New York. Her name is Michelle Lamy, and she's worked with like the Kim Kardashian, the FKA Twigs. You know, she's someone who sits front row at all of these Fashion Week events. And on her social media, she has maybe like such minuscule numbers. You'd honestly think, who is this woman and why is she like someone that so many people want to be around? But she is one of the most connected people when it comes to like the New York fashion scene. She's someone who knows the ins and the ins. Like she can be, you know, the fact that she sits front row at all of these exclusive fashion shows just tells you like her influence. She's in people's music videos. She's working with people like Rick Owens. You know, she is a big brand, but she doesn't have the social media following to match it. And I'm like, that just shows you that she is known in New York more than she's known on social media. And in New York, there's already maybe more than like 100, like more than 1 million people, more than 2 million people, more than like 10, 20, 50 million people. And that's so much bigger than a little social media platform where you're just getting likes and follows and comments. You know what I mean? So that's someone who has influence within their immediate capacity.
Yeah.
Given that you are an influencer, you are a change maker. I think I like that word more than an influencer. I think you are a change maker because you've done so much for the creative industry. Not just like looking at Bulawayo, but like them as like in general, and like you're really like pushing everything to the limit. What's your take on like and this is like open to everyone obviously, but like your take on social influencers? Like, do you think that they have a role to play in terms of like social issues? Like, as you all know, last year there was the Black Lives Matter movement that happened, and a lot of celebrities were kind of like called out for like not saying anything, or for saying the wrong thing. We had our own movement, the hashtags about Matter thing that happened. So like these are really big things where people, when countries, when the world is in a time of crisis, you have all of these people who are following you that now look to you and they're like, Sha, what how do you feel about this topic? And you know, you have like influencers that are quiet, we have influencers that say like crazy things, but like, so what's your take on that?
I just think when you're in a position of power of some sort, because we're all in positions of power in the spaces that we operate within, we might not know it, people might not tell us, but we're in position of power. There's unnecessary pressure that comes with that. You know, unfortunately, the moment you step out and you leave your house and you decide to work in a public space, or you decide to work on things that involve a lot of people, you lose control of yourself. You have literally given yourself to people. You become a vessel for people. So it's almost like musicians automatically become vessels. They become, as much as they also have their private lives, automatically they're now our national treasures. They're our national vessels. So that comes with unnecessary pressure in the sense that I saw last year that a lot of people were being bashed for not speaking on the hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter. Danai Gurira was being asked, why are you not talking about it? But if it doesn't align with your brand, because for example, for me, you never see me in a space where I'm talking about certain issues because my brand has to do with the creative industry. It has to do with creating sustainability in the creative industry. The moment that I hear that there's a funding that was put up by the government and it was supposed to go towards artists for COVID relief or whatever, and that doesn't happen, I'm going to voice out around it. I'm going to talk about it, say, what happened to the funding? Because it has to do with what I work for. I'm in the space, I'm in the creative industry. I'm in a space where I want to see sustainability in the creative industry. So anything that has to do with the arts industry, I'm going to voice out. But then I'm not going to be found voicing out on vegetation or climate change because I have no idea on climate change. I don't know what climate change is all about. So
That's not just clear.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put up a tweet and then the next thing, people that are well informed like Vera will come in and say, oh, you know, climate change, this, and I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So I try by all means. I think the pressure comes in people thinking that they need to hear you speak, but speaking doesn't mean you're bringing any sort of change or any influence. You might be just an empty vessel speaking, but sounding. And that's it for me. Don't speak on issues that you don't know of. Don't go into spaces that you have no idea of. Speak on issues that you know of. And people should take out people. They are not in that space. It doesn't align with their brand. It's not what their brand was built on. Their following is not even about that. Right. But there's a small risk I think by not having water running in our tape. So we need to be able to talk about certain things that are on a day-to-day that we also experience, because I feel like people like to get the personal touch to you. I cannot only be found talking about fashion, film, music, arts industry, but let me also talk about things that I'm facing. Like, guys, when I was driving home, I hit a pothole in my car. My tire just tore, or my car fell apart. These are day-to-day conversations that I can create and I can have with people. So when it's day-to-day social issues, let's talk about them, but we don't need to feel the pressure. If it doesn't align with our brand, let's not do it.
Right. I think I was just thinking while you were speaking, you brought up what you were saying. Oh my gosh. You were saying, oh yes, that people, I don't think people should speak on things that they don't have knowledge on. And actually that's a big thing on social media, which is so funny to me. People on social media are actually very like contradictory. There's like, people are like, don't speak on things that you don't have any knowledge on, like rather shut up, rather keep your mouth shut. But then now the moment someone shuts up and keeps their mouth shut, it's a problem. But like 2 seconds ago, you were just telling that person to not speak if they don't have the knowledge. So like for me, it's like a bit of a slippery slope, because you want someone to say something. But if this person doesn't feel like they have the expertise or the range to speak on this topic, then you're going to drag them and you're going to say, why don't you have the range? What is your problem? Why aren't you speaking on these topics? You know, so for me, I feel like a lot of the time, I don't think people should play. If you're in a position of influence, I don't think your decisions should come from what social media is saying. I think it should come from like an internal conviction and be like, yo, this is what I want to do, because this is my conviction. Not, oh my gosh, people are going crazy. Oh my gosh, I have to make a statement. Because then when you make that statement, people are going to be like, this is so disingenuous. You came out here. You're just, you know, trying to save your followers, trying to save your business deals. You know, that's... I don't know. I think it should never come from a place of pressure.
And a lot of people do that. They succumb to the pressure of societal pressure. It's the same thing as like, you know, on a day-to-day basis, all girls are not supposed to be mechanics. Who say that that's just a societal decision? That's a societal pressure to say, you should not do this, you should not do that, you should sound like this, you should not sound like this. So a lot of people really suffer from that. And we need to be very careful, because you lose yourself. You should stay true to yourself. You lose yourself while trying to satisfy other people, and you're voicing out on issues that you have no idea on. And it's not necessary, to be honest. It's not necessary to say certain things and to engage in certain things if you don't know anything about them, or if someone comes in with a question you're not able to even continue the conversation, then don't engage in such things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, I feel like sometimes like you have people in positions of influence that know they should say something, and they choose not to say something. And sometimes it's not even relation with, oh, it doesn't align with my brand. Like, for me, my biggest issue with last year, with all of the movements that came out, I was like, this is beyond a brand thing. I'm not saying that you need to write Black Lives Matter, kill all the popo. No, just recognizing that, you know what, yes, I believe that Black lives do matter. That's it. Just a hashtag. You don't have to put anything more to it. You don't have to take anything away from it. Simple things like what's happening now with the COVID pandemic. I was watching a video, and it was talking about some American celebrity who was like, well, people are dying anyway, so if you don't wear your mask, like whatever. And I'm like, no, like you can't say that. You actually can't afford to have that kind of an opinion when you're in that kind of a position of power.
Yeah, till July sounds like a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry. But like, it's a virus. I get it. Like, I respect it. But at the same time, like, even if everybody gets it, like, yeah, people are gonna die. It's just terrible. But like, inevitable? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this right now.
You can afford $50,000 medication. You can be flown out of the country to Russia to get treatment or whatever. But poor old grandma who's in Pennsylvania living with her 16 grandkids can't afford that. But you know, her kids are going to be watching you on your Instagram saying, oh, well, I don't have to wear a mask, living my best life. And then these kids are going to try and do the same thing. And you've kind of, you have a responsibility. I think it's more of like a CSR. We have all of these big company brands that have these CSRs. And I think as an influencer, you have a responsibility to when people to speak to certain things that are wrong. And you know, and I think when it comes to like a major level, I don't think you have to, sometimes there's certain movements that aren't political, that aren't racial, that aren't whatever, where I just think that it's important to just show unity and to also just give your voice to a movement that is good. And I think sometimes people of influence don't think that way. I agree with that. Like, there's things that we're all facing on a day-to-day basis, not even us directly, but it might be an aunt of ours, maybe a brother of ours that is going through that. Like, COVID is affecting a lot of people. Most of us have lost people from COVID. So if I have the numbers and I have the ability to get at least 500 people rallying and talking about it, why not? Just yesterday, actually in the evening, my friend was brutalized by the police. So he was coming from work, and it was just before 6, like 5 minutes before 6, and he was crossing the road to get into his car, and then 2 policemen stopped him and
they tripped him, and then they asked him, where are you going? He's like, no, I'm going to my car across the road. And then they started violating. So he suffered police brutality yesterday. And he sent me like pictures and things like that, and then all that, just all that happened. And for me, I thought I had a responsibility to talk about it. I literally just put out a tweet of 10 tweets, a thread of 10 tweets last night. This is like at 11 p.m. because I was so frustrated to say, why are the police like, attacking people? We're civilians, we're citizens. Why are they attacking us? If you have crossed the boundary, if you have gone over the curfew, whatever, why don't you just take me to the police station and make me pay a fine? Why don't you give me a warning or things like that? But why are you beating me when there's 2 of you and I'm only the only one there? I didn't even try to incite violence towards you, but you started just beating me up when I'm explaining to you where I'm going across the road. So I put up a tweet because I thought I have a responsibility, because a lot of people have been going through that. I have neighbors that have been going through that, and people are quiet about it. And it's frustrating because people are getting hurt, but you can't even go to the hospital because the hospital has got no capacity to take COVID patients. So how do you get your medication? How do you get attended to if you cannot even go to the hospital? So why are they attacking people when people cannot go to the hospital? So I put out a tweet like that. And this morning only, I woke up and it's like on 1,000 tweets. And I've like messages for days in my inbox, human rights organizations coming to say, does your friend need help? And things like that. And for me, like I said, my calling is I'm a connector. I did my job and I let it out. And then now my friend has just gotten help from one of the, human rights organizations because I put out a tweet. So that's the kind of things that we need to partake in, things that are actually happening, that are affecting you. And partake in that. Let's not be quiet about it. You know what I mean? Like what you said, Vera, let's not be quiet about things that are affecting us daily.
Yeah, like say something. I think that's what just frustrates me so much, because you're just like, dude, like, we're all seeing this. And this just brings me to like the next point, is that, do you feel like sometimes people of influence, people with money are really like they're out of touch with reality? A good example is, I remember, I don't want to state names, but I know that there was a minister's kid last year who was like really defending her dad on social media. And people are like, Sha, your dad was an ass to the whole country. Don't, just because he was a nice daddy to you, he'd come on.
I know who you're talking about.
But like to the rest of us, he fucked up our economy.
I'm sure
like,
we all know.
Like,
I'm sure we all know.
but like things like that, like, do you think for her, like, she genuinely just didn't know that her dad is an ass? Or it's just like a thing to say that, well, I'm just going to defend daddy till I die. Like, do you think people of influence are really out of touch with reality?
A lot of people with money are out of touch with reality, because I see that happening in Zim, for example, the person that you gave an example of, because they're able to afford certain things. They are not able to go into certain spaces and see the reality. They don't have an aunt who stays in a place where there's no electricity every single day, where sewer is bursting every single day. When you have to go visit your aunt, because this aunt is very dear to you, you go to those spaces and then you see that, and it affects you every single day. So they're able to buy their way out of certain things. They're able to live in a bubble, and that's the child very much out of touch. And for me, it's frustrating. I'm not frustrated towards their riches and that they're living a good life. I'm frustrated towards that they're reckless at speaking, because they don't know the reality. They are living in a bubble, so they speak from a bubble, which is also okay in terms of when they're speaking, they're justified to speak in the bubble. But can they at least leave that conversation in the bubble and stop taking it out of the bubble to the rest of the world?
Yes, right. I love that. I think that's so important. I feel like you can only be ignorant to a certain point. I don't think there's anyone who's justified enough to be like, well, them is fine, or there's no crisis in America with the Black Lives Matter movement. No, you can't say that, friend, because you haven't taken enough care to research into the situation. Have you gone into the rural areas in Zimbabwe to ask them, okay, are you happy with your healthcare? Are you happy with this? Are you happy with that? Is life good? I remember someone was telling me about there was a president that used to actually go into the community undercover, so he could kind of like understand, like, what's happening on the ground. Even that show, Undercover Boss, I'm like, I love that show, because I love that. So you get to see what's happening on the ground. It's very hard to see you know what's going on from your high pedestal, your castle, and you're up there in your tower, and you're like, oh, my peasants seem fine now, fam. Get into the ground and see what's actually going on. Then you can make your decision. You can now say that, okay, nah, guys, okay, things are cool, things are bad. I remember the time I was in a cab, and it was like with this other lady, and she's like, oh, the doctors, they're so messed up, like how dare they not, you know, treat people and blah blah blah, and the nurses, why they're on strike. And I was like, woman, if you were in a job and you were underpaid and your boss still expects you to come to work every day, your ass would have quit a long time ago. So I think it's perfectly justified. Like, you try doing an operation on someone without a mask, without half the equipment you need. You try telling people every single day that they need to go home to die, because that's what doctors have to do in Zimbabwe.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's just my opinion. When I'm just like, get on the ground. Don't make an opinion because of, oh, I just, you know, well, for me, it seems fine. Now, sweetie, get on the ground level and see what's actually going on, and then decide whether you want to make the statement you want to say. Because some of those statements are very damaging. And
you hear what you just said. You hear what you just said. It goes back to the other question when you're talking about, do you think that influential people should voice out on certain social issues? If you have no knowledge about it, if you're not well informed, don't voice out, because you embarrass yourself. The same way as this woman saying, oh, why are they on strike? Or why don't they just go to work? She has no knowledge, she has no information, like ground roots information, and she's voicing out based on what she knows. So it's the same thing that influencers also need to be very careful of, to say, let me I want to voice out, but I need to be careful what I voice out on, because I need to voice out with full knowledge. I'm going to talk about police brutality because I saw my friend going through it, and it's first-hand information, so that's why I'm talking about it. I'm going to talk about sewer vestige, because there's an aunt of mine who stays next to her house. I mean, her house is next to a best every single day. She might as well have a last name called Sewer Best. You know what I mean? So let's voice out with information that we know of, not just based on things that we read about or that we see from afar.
You're not serious. You're not I can't.
Anti-suicide.
Imagine. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so
this calls for a commercial
now we
break.
have our influence.
Yes, let's take a break.
Yes, we need a break.
Right. Oh. For real.
Right, that was.
That's fine.
I was actually just thinking about, when you brought up the police brutality thing, I was thinking like, it's a real thing, because, you know, the whole, you know, remember there was that thing on social media where the policeman apparently like killed that baby. And then a few days later, the baby wasn't killed or whatever. But like, aside from the fact of whether the kid was killed or not, like, police should not be doing that. Like, it should never be a case where it's coming to that, you know? So I 100% feel that.
What happened to having a conversation? What are you doing here? It's after the curfew. What are you doing? You need to go home, or you want to pay a fine. What happened to that? Why are you attacking me? Are you not supposed to be protecting me? Are you not supposed to be informing me on things? Maybe I don't know there's a curfew. Maybe I don't know what time the curfew is. I know the curfew, but I don't know what time it is. Why can't you play the role of informing me on things that are being decisions that are being made in your spaces?
Of protecting.
You know, or protecting me. So why am I being attacked?
Yeah.
Right.
What's the purpose of attacking someone?
Right.
Like, do you understand why someone is in town after curfew? Do you understand why someone is breaking the law? Like, and how deep is this breakage of the law? Someone is crossing the road to get to their car. You want to beat them up. A woman is trying to get home. You beat her up. But you have people who are stealing every day, who are raping people, who are physically assaulting people, but you don't want to investigate those cases. You don't want to arrest those people. You don't want to assault those people, but you want to assault innocent old Gilmore's friends who's just walking across the road to get to their car. Nah, fam. We've had such a great conversation. And I think one of the next major things that I just wanted to ask about is cancel culture. I think last year, last year was literally, King Her said last year was the year of cancel culture. And I think it really was a cancel culture year. Like, so many people were just being canceled for like anything that they did wrong. And I had like a conversation with my dad last night, and we were talking about the Shingi Munyeza scandal. And I was just like, does it make sense to, you know, kick him out of the church and everything while out of his position at the church just because he had sinned? I was like, guys, everyone is human. Like, people mess up, people make mistakes. Isn't it more important to like rehabilitate someone and then like give them a chance to come correct? And then now when they're correct, we now move with this person and their correctness. I don't know. That's just like my 2 cents. I can see Jordan's like, nah.
No, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna have. I'm not here for it. I'm really not here for it. And I'm sorry, because I'm gonna put him on the same level as like a police officer. A police officer, like Gilmore was speaking about earlier on, is someone who is supposed to be helping to protect citizens, someone who is supposed to uphold the law, and someone that we're supposed to rely on to protect us from evil, you know? And when that person steps out of that role and breaches that contract with the citizens, they are now being subjected to the same, they should be subjected to the same law that they are enforcing, right? Right. So applying that same context to the church, if you are going to be the person who is conveying the purveyor of spirituality, the purveyor of God's message and, you know, whatever, then you are someone who should also be willing to put yourself in a position where you need to step down. You need to remove yourself from the situation and face discipline, you know, because that's what you would do to any other congregant or any other person who is part of your congregation. And I'm sorry, just because you are the pastor or you are someone who is influential does not mean that you should not be subjected to the same laws of power, you know?
Exactly.
So, I don't know. I don't think...
No, I agree, because you are the one who... I agree with you, Jordan, because if you're the one who also sets these rules and say, this is the situation, those rules should apply to you also. For me, I also think cancel culture at the same time, it can come in as a strengthener of to bring people together, like a collective people with the same mindset. Like I see, it's got the pros and the cons, you know what I mean? Like the negatives are there. Like last year, there was a lot of negatives that happened where, you know, people come together as a collective and then they cancel someone completely. But it also is the positive. Let's give an example of Shasha, where the whole country collectively came together and then they made a decision to say, we're going to vote for Shasha for her to go win a BET. Cancel culture, that is cancel culture kind of influence, because people came together, but they came together for a positive thing, and then they made sure that they voted this girl to go win a BT. The same way people came together and they said, you know what, we're cancelling Ja Praiser because he didn't voice out on the hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter. We're cancelling him. Every time he says something on social media, people are just onto him like no one's business to say, can you shut up? That's basically what people are saying on social media.
Right.
So it comes in the positive and negatives, and I think it depends. The positive about it is like people actually come together. People can come together in Zimbabwe, for example. It's interesting that people can come together in Zimbabwe if they decide to go for a common cause. But I wish we could all come together when it comes to things that have to do with productivity in our country and in our society.
Yes, yes. No, I think I get what you're saying. Jordan. But I just feel like when you cancel someone, like, are we going to also allow a space for rehabilitation? It's like the prison system. I steal today. I get arrested. They throw me into jail. I spend my 7 years in jail for stealing. I come out. Am I given a chance to come back to the glory of being the Vera that I was before I was arrested? Or do I have to start from scratch, not being able to find a job anywhere, even though I've rehabilitated and I've decided that, okay, stealing was bad. But now if I'm thrown into a society where people are like, oh, that was the girl that stole, like, we don't want to deal with her. This is why you have like high unemployment rates in America. This is why you have, and I think all over the world, you have prisoners that end up committing crime again because they're like, well, I'm back in society and society isn't taking me back. So I might as well commit another crime to go back into prison where like at least I had, you know, a position where I had something to do, or I had like some sort of respect, and, you know, it's now my new norm. So I feel like, okay, cool. Let's punish people for their sins. Let people pay for their sins, but let's also give someone a chance to come back before and to be different. Because I think if we preach a culture of you screwed up, we're never going to forgive you, we've thrown you into the gutters, die, like we're not helping anything, and we're not changing anything.
Right. I don't think that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we should not forgive people. I'm not saying we should put ourselves in a position where we are deciding that this
forgive and forget.
I'm saying, no, right. I'm saying that, you know what, I'm going to use your example of the prisoner. You know, when someone goes to prison, they may be rehabilitated, and then they come out of prison, and the big fault of that situation is that a lot of the times they go back to the environment which helped to, you know, cultivate that crime life, the environment where the crime came about. So to send that person right back into the space where they were able to become that person is not conducive. In the same way, this pastor, you cannot send him back to his congregation. You know, you can't send him back to the same congregation, because that's where it happened. That's where the lies and deception happen. That's where, you know, you don't even know, maybe when he goes back, there's going to be a new line, a whole trove of women who are like, I am willing and able and capable to be your side chick. Take me. Right. You know, you don't know the temptations that are going to, because now they know what he's capable of. You don't know who is going to be there ready to be like, I will keep your secrets for you. I will be the one to hold your secrets safe. You know, this is the problem. You can't put them back into the same environment and expect different results. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear that, but I also think, wow, I like what you're saying, Jordan. The fortunate part is when these people of influence, when they're making decisions or they're making things that are long-term decisions, they themselves don't make decisions that allow rehabilitation just in case something wrong happens. So already the problem starts with them, because when they now make these decisions to say this is the situation, and they find themselves partaking in things that they say are negative, they then only realize when they're within the situation that, oh snap, I even forgot to make a decision that allows rehabilitation when I was in position. So the problem goes back to them, because they could have done that. They could have changed that when they're making decisions.
Right. Agreed. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. We'll leave it at that, because I feel like that's also a whole conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
This one can go in circles and circles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just going to start rounding up the conversation. And I just wanted to ask, like, what pieces of advice would you give? Like, you're sitting in a room of influencers, there are 1,000 of them, and they're ready to go out into the world and be the most. Like, what advice would you give them? What would you say to them, like, as a warning? Tell them, don't do it, don't be an influencer, it can go bad. I don't know, but like, what would you say to like people who are thinking about becoming influencers, existing influencers?
I think first of all, you need to ultimately stay true to yourself, because I think a lot of people lose themselves along the way, and the only thing that you can talk about is yourself. If you stay true to yourself, you stay true to your story, you keep building up to your story and discovering new things. That's the only way people relate to your story, and we need to stay true to yourself. But I mean, ultimately, be well informed in the space that you operate within. I'm going to give an example. The other time I bumped into a designer, a fashion designer in Zimbabwe, in Bulawayo, and they are deemed to be the it fashion designer. And then I just asked them a simple thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a designer. That is so dope. You should go follow this brand called House of Stone. The founder is my friend. And then they were like, okay. And like, do you know of them? They're like, no. I'm like, what? You are in the fashion space and you're telling me you don't know of House of Stone. House of Stone is the most exportable
iconic
brand in Zimbabwe. It's iconic. Like, if I have to think of fashion designers in Zimbabwe that are staying true to themselves, that are authentic, that have an amazing storytelling and aesthetics, the first one is House of Stone. So I was to this person, you know what, for me, you have just shown me that you are ignorant, first of all. You're not informed about the industry that you're operating within. If you're going to say you're in fashion, you better be researching on who's popping in the fashion industry. You better research on who is the authority in that fashion industry. You better research on the different platforms in that industry. You can't be coming out of here saying, oh, I don't know who House of Stone is. She's an iconic brand in this country and in Africa. So as an influencer, be well informed in the space you operate within, know the ins and the outs of that space, so that when you're put in a space where you're supposed to talk about it, you fully are talking from a space of knowledge. Try not to involve yourself in things that you have no idea of. You know, like you're jumping yourself into, oh, because I heard the story is trending, let me jump onto it. Don't jump on a train that is moving. You don't know where that train is going and where it's coming from. Jump on the train which you started off on, and then you know where it's going. It's as simple as that.
Love it.
And that's it. Stay true. Know your story, know the people in the space, and don't jump on trains that are already moving when you don't know where they're going.
Right.
We're done.
Yes.
Right.
Just like that. Drops mic and walks. You should like dropped your virtual mic and just like walked. Just like,
right.
Thank you.
That was some really solid advice. That was really solid advice. I really think everything that Gilmore said is really solid. I think anyone could use that. Anyone who is in a small position of influence or anyone in a big position. I think one thing that I'll say is I think just because you were speaking on opinions, I think we should all be very sure about the things that we stand for. I think, like Gilmore said, know yourself. Know but the positions that you stand for. Know what it is that you represent, because at the end of the day, you will find yourself in a lot of positions where you are going to have to defend yourself, whether you like it or not. That is just the way that it is set up when you are in a position of influence, because people think, who is this person to stand in a position of power and to think that they represent a specific part of the population, So being someone who is a representative of groups of people, you have to know the audience that you are speaking to. You have to know what people are willing or not willing to listen to. And I think another thing is just stay authentic, stay genuine, don't be fake. Fake is so easy to spot. And like I said earlier on, it should come from an inner conviction. Every decision you make should be from your own conviction and should be guided by your own decisions. Obviously, it's important for you to keep people around you who are going to keep you grounded. Don't keep people around you who are just going to say, yes, girl, no. We're bored of that, Keep someone around you who's going to tell you, you know what, Jordan, you are making a mess. You are acting out of turn. Or you know what, Vera, you are making a mess, girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep people around you who are not always going to be at the same level as you, because only having industry friends is going to keep you in the clouds, You have to have real people who experience real problems in their lives for you to stay real, Because essentially when you become a person of influence, you start to live in a bubble. You begin to live this life that has a different existence, So keep people who are still existing on a real level that is not glamorous or, gold. Everything that glitters is gold, So that's all I have to say.
That is so. You know what I call those people? Sorry, Vera. I'm taking over Vera's life. We're taking over, Jordan. We're taking over, Vera. Do you know what I call people? You know what I call people that you just mentioned? I like what you said, keep real people. For me, every year I do like this small gathering where I have like maybe 60 people. And then a lot of people are always like, oh, how come I was not invited? Hey, blah, 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 blah. Usually like when I have like achieved like a big thing, I always do like a little dinner or whatever. And then I invite people that are very close to me. So sometimes people are like, how come I saw ASAP there? How come I saw Boma Hawks? I'm like, I've known those guys for 15 years. You see them now as superstars, but we have been just my friends or even just people. They're now in the industry, and they're popping in the industry, but they're my friends. But I call even the basic person, like my mechanic, my guy who used to be my cab guy, those people are very close to me, and I call them my superstars. So,
yes!
Those are the people that we need in our lives. Your superstars that are not out there for everyone to see, but they are your superstars.
Right.
They tell you, Jordan, you are messing up. You are stupid. Me, I call those people my superstars.
Right. These people, I think the key to it is it has to be someone who
have ground you. Fame comes with so much.
Sorry, there's a real delay.
Continue.
Oh my God. I was just saying that I think the key to these kinds of people is to.
What are you saying?
Sure. Oh my gosh, this is tripping me out. Go ahead, Vera.
No, talk, Jordan. It's fine, and then I'll round up.
Okay, what I was saying is that I think the key to these key people, these superstars, as Gilmore calls them, is they have to be people who are not fazed by the glitz, the glam, the lifestyle, people who don't want that life. Like, it's not their interest. They have no interest in that. Like, they're just like, you have that. That's great. It affords you a great life. That's cool. But to them, they just see it as another job. They don't want any part of it. They only want you. That's all that it is. So I think that's the key.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. To stay grounded, you need to have people who are. All right. So, yeah, thank you so much, Gilmore, for joining us in this amazing discussion. I think all the hour rangers can agree that you have just been really eye-opening, and it's an absolute honor to just have you on the podcast. I think that for me is the biggest thing, is that we actually got you to say yes, which is great. And I think it's just a really interesting conversation that needs to happen more often. I think people need to be more real with themselves, and we need to hear from more people who think like you. I think that's another problem, that a lot of times, like, we don't want to listen to the real artist or the real celeb or socialite. We don't want to listen to real influencers because we like the glitz and glam and the people who lie to us like, life is a rose. No, we want like the Gilmores who be like, Sha, life is great, yes, and life is also rubbish. Like, this is what, you need to also work. Like, you don't wake up in the morning and you're famous. You need to put in the work. And we need people like you who have those kind of conversations and push that kind of a movement. Like I said, you are a change maker. I don't think you're an influencer. I think you are a change maker because you make change in so many different ways. And I think that's just amazing and beautiful.
Right.
No, thank you.
So yes.
I just want to say thank you to you. What I really appreciate the most with what you're doing is creating platforms. What we lack the most is we don't have platforms that allow our voices to be heard. And for me, what I find really gratifying with you and your platform is the fact that you are not only allowing your voice to be heard, but you're allowing other voices to be heard through your platform. You are a light yourself. You are a connector yourself, because you have provided a platform for someone else who has no idea of who Gilmore is, someone else who has no idea of who Jordan is, someone else has no idea of who Vera is. You have given your platform for that. You're not selfish to keep it to yourself, but you're very selfless in allowing it to be a platform where people voice out. So I appreciate you for that. And I thank you for giving me that voice, because you've allowed my voice to be heard through your platform. So I wish more people could do that, and we should not be threatened by other people's light, because what really brings failure to us, especially in the creative industry or in general as people, is I look at Jordan, I'm like, oh my gosh, Jordan is popping, Vera is popping, and that threatens my life and my existence. But we should not be afraid to allow other people to shine their light on our platforms, because the more light we have in the room, the more lit the room is.
Right. Oh my.
What? Love that.
No, for real.
Love that.
You're so. No, for real though. Like, I agree with you 100%. I think that both of you are great. Y'all are amazing. I think that this is something that is for the ages. I think this is something that people are going to be able to look back on and talk about for a really long time, whether or not like it pops off and blows up, or whether it just stays in our sphere of influence. I think that there are a lot of things that people can learn from this, and I think that Gilmore, you really brought a lot of great gems to the table. I'm really honestly so grateful to you, because you came through. You're so humble, you're so like relatable, you're so all of these real words, like you're so real. I think that's what I come to. You're a real person, and there's not once in this conversation did I ever feel like I was like talking up to someone, like trying to see myself. And, and that's one thing I appreciate about real people, is that no matter what position they find themselves in, they don't feel a need to like, to floss or look down on other people. I don't appreciate that, and I will never appreciate that. Like, so yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. I think people will see you for the real person that you are through this space, through every platform that you occupy, So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so please make sure that you follow Gilmore on all of his social media.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Make me cry.
And make sure that you follow myself and Joy. So just follow the series, because the series is going to be going on, and also follow Kuva. Yes. Right. They are a local brand that is sponsoring this series as well. Local beers. I think they also have champagne, which is really cool. Hey. So yeah, live your best lives during lockdown. But yes, lots of love and light. Stay amazing, people.
Throwing up my gang signs.
Okay. Your gang signs.
Click, striker, pose. Oh, swag, drippy, click, striker, pose.